maybe
you
he was
think
fired.
that was attributable?
Look, he was
Do you
there
think that was
33
attributable to
years.
the
Maybe he
genius?
was planning to retire anyway, but I don't know. I think he made a call, or someone made a call. I think they got a lot of pushback, and I think they're going to change their mind. Merrill Lynch has changed their mind. UBS has changed their mind. So people are coming around. So all that said, now we've had this massive run. You know, we went from 47 all the way back. I think we hit 38. And people are like, see, I told you, sell the news.
Yeah.
And the stalwarts were like, that's a gift, right? I can buy more at a cheaper price. Now, if you, and I don't even call myself a conspiracy theorist, but if you believe, as I do, that if you're a large investor and you know that you need to buy a big old chunk of something, what is the oldest trick on Wall Street? What do? Right? If you want to buy a lot of something, you actually sell it. You actually spread rumors that it's lousy and you push the price down. I mean, you know, Dwight Anderson used to work for Julian Robertson. He tells this story all the time. They wanted to buy a big position in copper to doing business. It's 5%. Who cares? Now, in the Bitcoin world, that happened. So if you go back to 2021, we got all the way to 68, whatever it was, 68.5, which we just beat, last night. So 68.5, or maybe it was 68.3, doesn't matter. But we got to the all-time high. Literally on the day of the launch of these futures-backed ETFs, the price started down and we ended up going down 74%. Now, that wasn't all the banks shorting. It was people freaking out and people who had bought, buying what they wish they would have bought, selling. But the key was the beginning of that was this paper manipulation. The difference this time, these are spot ETFs, meaning when BlackRock gets an order, or when Bitwise gets an order, Fidelity gets an order, they have to go find actual Bitcoin.
Yes.
They can't just buy futures contracts and pretend that they have Bitcoin. So what you're seeing in the last health from devaluation, because again, the real estate doesn't grow. Like this building I'm sitting in doesn't grow. It doesn't get more efficient. It doesn't get better. It actually wears out. But the value goes up because the currency depreciates.
Yes.
So how much of that 6 million in real estate, when you think about, like I would show you around behind me, I mean, my office is empty. There's no one here. No one comes in anymore. Well, I don't need all this space. So in 2 years, when my lease comes up, I'm outie. And I love my office and I don't want to give it up, but it's just wasted space. So if you've got investments in office real estate or even industrial real estate, which has been in fuego, some of it's not in the right spots anymore, and multifamily, there's massive supply coming on. So how much are you going to take of that real estate and say, I might diversify into this Bitcoin thing?
Yeah. Well, I look at it as,
Toshis. And there were some writings in these emails that came out, from Satoshi Nakamoto himself that said the reason he picked the 21 million number is it kind of worked out to be global currency with a Satoshi equal to $1. And that kind of works. And ultimately, I think today a Satoshi is like, 0.7 cents or something. I should be able to do that math, but I can't do it in my head. But over time, the idea that this thing is divisible to 100 million units is going to catch on and people are going to understand. Like I feel sorry for her. She's a very nice woman. She's a trader on Twitter. I won't name her name, but she got in trouble. Actually, if you could, the picture behind me has a clue to her last name because Notre Dame something is her last name. But parabolas, and then it crashes, and it makes another parabola. But what it also does, it makes a parabolic Metcalfe's law curve, meaning going from $1 to $10 is a massive move percentage-wise, right?
Yes.
10 times. Going from 10 to 20, that's another 10, but it's not that big a move.
Yeah.
So the law of large numbers starts to catch up. But here's the rub. Your point on how much money is coming in is really, really important. And I made a comment the other day on Twitter that if I believe this year more fiat will be converted into Bitcoin, actual transaction, not paper, but actual transaction, than the history of Bitcoin. In the first 15 years, and I haven't done the math exactly and counted, but I think it's right around 300 billion. I think it's a little bit less than that.
And that's what? That's 1%?
And exactly. But the crazy part is, say 1%. That's 300 billion.
Wow.
So it's not 10%. It's not 50%. 1%, which is a reasonably logical number. 2% is better. 3% is better, but 1 is logical. If 1% comes in, that's 300 billion. And that 300 billion, I think, will move the price materially more than 300 billion. And then the problem comes that FOMO kicks in. So if you think about the 4-year cycle, we've talked about this in the past, the 4-year cycle is really easy. The price goes down in crypto winter because people are panicking and they're selling and they never really understood what they bought and they FOMO'd in at the top. And so they sell. And we have fair value and we get way below fair value. And the investors like to buy things below fair value. That's my job, right? That's what investors do. We buy things below fair value. So you start moving the price back to fair value, right? And around halving, you get to fair value. Well, then what happens? Well, the fair value increases. Is if, and it's capital I, capital F, but if the NSA or the CIA actually did create,
just going to say,
right?
Yes.
That's true, right? If they did create it and they control that big Nakamoto wallet, they could, right, say at some point, all right, we got everybody to convert fiat into this. We took all the dirty fiat and we got the economy back. And we're just going to sell the Nakamoto wallet and crush it back to that could happen. I don't think it's a non-zero probability, but I think it's a little teeny tiny left tail event. The right tail event, right, which is people start FOMOing into this with more than 1%, and there are no Bitcoin to sell, and BlackRock's got to buy it, and we get a really big move. That's a non-zero probability too. Again,
Mark, you see that happening?
The bell curve.
Do you see that happening? I definitely could see a lot of FOMO, but
I think FOMO is a very powerful thing. I think the difference this cycle, it's just a better form of money. It's a way to be your own bank. It's unique. It wins. Everybody's like, whoa, what about Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin wins. No. And it's called the law of increasing returns. It may not be the best tech. Doesn't matter. It got critical mass. It wins. That's the way it works. Betamax versus VHS. Betamax lost. Better technology lost. So that's that. The world computer, Ethereum, internet computer. Some people like internet computer. Ethereum seems to have won to be the world computer. Yeah. And that's the thing that I've been shilling this book. Chris Dixon wrote a book called Read, Write, Own.
Yeah.
And it talks about
it's a great
Web
book.
1, Web 2. And what people can't understand, blockchains are a form of computing. They are the